I've never had the impulse to like punch a wall, right? I know some people have had that impulse before. I get it. Like I've seen, holes punched in walls. I've always thought that that might be a testosterone thing, maybe. But I'm curious to know, like, what comes first, the mob impulse and that impulse to like judge, or is it the impulse to want, like, is it an aggressive impulse that then finds expression through judgment? What's is it a chicken and the egg question?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't because sometimes the mob thing isn't actually, even if what they're doing seems driven by anger, the individuals in it, they actually don't feel that strongly about it. It's that it doesn't feel real to them, right? So like
Mm,
a lot of what we would call like cancel culture, or like the people who are following what was happening to you, just passively through the tabloids or through the news, it, it was very, very entertaining, and
right.
maybe they had strong opinions one way or another, but what they definitely didn't think a lot about was what it would be like to be you or the families of the people involved, or anything that it's this is the same as a fictional television show,
Right.
but it's not.
Yeah, I think that's really key. And it's one of the reasons why true crime in general makes me very squeamish, because it is a like morality soap opera
Yeah,
that we all get to partake in. And all the people involved end up being ideas of people, and rather than actual people who have real lives and felt experiences. And I don't know. I mean, a part of me is really sad that I had to experience that so strongly, that like I was an idea of a person in people's minds, and then that idea of a person was who they convicted and sentenced to 26 years in prison. But at the same time, it was me, real me, that had to go back in the prison van and had to
yeah.
go, sit in a jail cell again for years on end. So it makes me sad. And on the other hand, looking back in retrospect, I'm a little bit grateful for the experience, because it always, always reminds me that there is a distinct difference between what people think about me and what even I think about myself, and what is actually real and what is actually happening in a present moment. And I mean, I think that's part of where my Stoic perspective comes in, where I don't get hung up on this idea of like my life depends upon what people think of me, or
Yeah.
even my life depends on what I think about myself in this moment, because everything is an idea and not necessarily reality. Does that make any sense?
It does. It does. And I even think about the stories I was telling you about. So Rufus, he's like, I'm not going to defend myself, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go in exile. There's something about even that where we obviously everyone involved is long since dead, but we're sort of like, what a badass way to respond. And then we're like, but he's also probably married. He probably also has kids. There are other people affected by the consequences of this kind of like performative, righteousness, right? And so
Right.
I sometimes think about that too, is like all this stuff was real, and there's sort of the symbol you, and then there's the you as a person, and you know hey, if you just accept this plea deal, it'll all go away, and then you have this sense of right and wrong, so you don't want to do it. I'm not trying to imply about your case. I'm just saying, we think about what the right thing to do is, and then obviously also there's how our decisions affect other people. There's the precedent that we set. So all this stuff, these morality plays. If you read true crime or you follow the news or you read history, and what it gives you is a very clear sense of black and white, you're missing the point, because actually the morality play, the Shakespearean drama of what's happening, should be teaching you just how fucking complicated and contradictory life can be.
Yes. And also that there are lots of powers at play. Like the person who finds themselves in the position of the defendant, the accused, is up against not just a person, but like a social construct, and
Mm-hmm.
is up against a history and precedent. And so them as a person, they're like, the person is who's going to feel the consequences. It's not the
Yeah.
idea.
Yes.
It's not the idea of the person. And yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to me that, historically you think about the big philosophers and the big gurus, and you're not typically thinking about their families and their kids and how they're affected by what's going on.
Yeah.
And um, yeah, I mean, I think that's true also in my case. And it's true in all wrongful conviction cases, really, because the way that the media portrays it is that you, the accused, are this eye in the storm, when in reality you belong to people, and
Yeah.
those people's lives get put on hold or are put into limbo or are completely destroyed as they are dismantled as they try to like hold you up so you don't just plummet into an abyss of judgment and punishment.
Yeah.
And every one of those people have to rediscover themselves and redevelop their relationship with their role in the world, given the consequences that idea of a person faces.
Yeah, because I think when they gave Socrates the chance to defend himself, I suspect they were hoping he would ask for a small fine, which one of his rich friends would pay, or that
Nice.
he would accept exile and just go away and not be their problem.
Right.
So when he
So he
chooses,
could have had that.
yes,
That's
yes.
not what I think about when I think of Socrates.
Well, and I think this is what's interesting. So he chooses the harder thing, which is death. The braver thing, he stands on principle, and then, as you pointed out, though, he has a wife and 2 sons. And so, is it actually the principled thing? Is it the brave thing? Is it the right thing to die for this? In this case, kind of meaningless principle. It's not like he's being asked to sort of like. Kiss the feet of the emperor or something.
Right.
He's not being asked to do anything really. And so he doesn't, and obviously he lives for all time as this kind of immortal hero, but it was probably hard for the people that he left behind. And so, yeah, I think the idea that the individual is a real person who's sitting in that prison cell, we kind of glib over because, again, this feels like a spectator sport to us, and not, we forget that the athlete we're watching has a new baby and they haven't been sleeping.
Right. I think I'm really fascinated by this choose your own punishment adventure that the ancient Greeks offered.
Yeah.
Because I will say that there were times, like especially like right after my conviction, when I had this sort of existential crisis and I realized, oh, the truth doesn't matter. They just really wanted to convict this like idea of a person that is me. I had fantasies about like alternative punishments to the ones that I was subjected to. And I was like, you know what? Like, I had this vision of, it's not like I just get to go home, right? Like, I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to go back and be an anonymous person again. Like, I needed to be hated. Like, that was the point.
Yeah.
Everyone just wanted to hate me. And I had this like vision before Game of Thrones came out and Cersei had to do like the naked walk down the street with her hair all cut off and everyone throwing shit at her. Like, I had that vision of myself. And I was like, you just have to like just open the prison door and let me walk naked and like ashamed all the way back home. Like, make me swim across the ocean to get back home. I will do it. Just like hate me on the way. And
I can see you have bloodlust. What do you need me to pay to make this go away?
Exactly.